I want to give all praise and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahushai, Bahasham, Ha, Rakah, Kodash. Double honors to our apostles and elders which rule great millstone well. And shalom to the hopeful elect of the nation of Israel. May you endure into the end. Shalom, wa abab abal. So we got some great news. All right, the WEF, which is the World Economic Forum, wants to ban speech, talking about the freedom of speech, all right, of any kind. And pretty much they're putting it out there that it's going to have a death sentence on it, which is good news, all right, because we're about to be out of this fucking hellhole, all right, and the Lord is going to deliver his elect, which I hope to be in that number. I'm going to grab a scripture. This is 1 Peter chapter 1, verse 13. Wherefore gird up the loins of your mind, be sober, and hope to the end for the grace that is to be brought unto you at the revelation of Yahushua HaMashiach. All right, it says Jesus Christ, but that's a false name and a false way of saying his title. Jesus, all right, is a false name. The true name of the Messiah is Yahushua. His Father, which is our Father through Yahushua, is Yahweh, the supreme God. Yahushua is the Messiah, which Christ is a Greek way of saying anointed, but Yahushua is a Hebrew. All right, and the Hebrew way of saying anointed or the Messiah is Ha the Mashiach. All right, which that's his title. He's the Messiah. He is the Savior of Israel. So the revelation of Yahushua HaMashiach is happening, all right? Pretty much these are the signs of his return. And when he's revealed, he's not going to be looking like no so-called white man. He's going to be looking like a dark-skinned so-called black man, all right? And I say so-called because there is no such thing as a so-called black man or a so-called white man, all right? Esau Edom, the so-called white man, is the devil the Bible speaks of. His name is Edom, his nation. Esau is his father, and that name Edom means red. All right? Jacob, which his name was changed to Israel, is the father of the Israelites, and the Israelites is the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians, which been scattered throughout the world in slavery. All right? So the signs that we're seeing are fulfillment of prophecy of the revelation, the revealing, the apocalypse of Yahushua HaMashiach. All right? And he's coming to judge the world and punish the wicked and them that do wickedly and deliver his hopeful elect. All right? So now I'm going to let this, I don't really like using women, to teach, but this woman is going to bring out some points, all right, that is pretty much affecting this truth, all right, because they're going to make it illegal for us to teach and even sentence some brothers to death under this law that they're pushing forward, all right.
And Commission Vera Jourova talking about making hate speech illegal in the United States. Watch this.
Well, we need the people who understand the language and the case law in the country. Because what qualifies as hate speech, as illegal hate speech, which you will have soon also in the U.S., I think.
So, what is hate speech? All right, she's going to define it, but the scriptures are hateful to a certain race. All right, more than the rest of the races on earth. Romans 9:13. It says, and this is the Lord speaking, as it is written, Jacob have I loved, but Esau have I hated. All right, so the Lord hates the so-called white man, the red devil. All right, and he loves Jacob, the Israelite, the so-called Negro, Latino, and Native American Indian. And that's why we've been put in slavery under the so-called white man, because he's showing us his judgment. And he doesn't do so to any other nation. Psalms 147, verse, I'm going to start at 1 and 2, and then I'm going to jump down. It says, praise ye Yahweh, For it is good to sing praises unto our power, for it is pleasant and praise is comely. Yahweh doth build up Jerusalem, he gathereth together the outcasts of Israel. And we're outcasts because we've been scattered throughout the world in slavery, the Israelites. All right, and he's gathering us together. Let me grab one more scripture and then we'll continue on that. We're being gathered to Yahweh Shai. 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 1. Now we beseech you, brethren, by the coming of our Lord Yahweh Shai HaMashiach, and by our gathering together unto him. So this is why you see us in the camps, on the highways, all right, doing these videos, is because we're being gathered unto Yahweh Shai, because he's coming back. All right? And this is why the wicked are coming down with great wrath, because they know they have but a short time. They even see the chariots, which are the vehicles of Yahweh Shai and the angels, above us, and that's causing them to be afraid also. Now, Psalms 147, verse 19, he showeth his word unto Jacob, his statutes and his judgments unto Israel. And that's why we're going through this slavery. He's punishing us because he loves us. And he doesn't punish no other nation like us because he don't give a shit about those other nations. All right? It says they are nothing to him. All right? Just like your own children. You'll punish your own children because you love them. If you love them, you will not spare the rod. But the one that, if a parent don't correct his child, that means he don't give a shit about his child. And he don't care what happens to his child. But a parent, a father that corrects his child, that does not spare the rod on his child, that's because he loves his child. And that's what the Lord is doing to the Israelites. He's punishing us using the so-called white man, the red devil, and the other nations as a weapon against us to punish us because he loves us. Verse 20, he had not dealt so with any nation. So he don't give a fuck about any other nation. And as for his judgments, they have not known them. Praise ye Yahweh. All right. Now, let's go back to the video.
So in U.S., I think that we have a strong reason why we have this in the criminal law. We need the platforms to simply work with the language and to identify such cases. The AI would be too dangerous.
All right, so there she is giggling. You in the United States are about to have this. Well, what law is she talking about? Well, she's talking about laws that were enacted in 2008 after the European Commission made a decision to ban hate speech. So let me read some of it to you so you know what's in store for the United States, according to her. So here is the regulation that they made in the EU. Now, this is the Commission. The Commission writes up these kind of directives, and then member states need to start enacting their own laws country by country in accordance to the directives by the European Commission if they want to stay in the EU.
And that's the thing. People don't understand. January 1st, new laws started. I did a sit down on this, because we're the watchmen and we're supposed to be watching and warning the people, our people, the Israelites, of what's to come. And I myself, by the Holy Spirit, was allowed to actually do a video showing that the new laws that they were going to implement this year in January 2023, all right, the year of the Lord, we hope the Lord, Yahweh Ba'asham, Yahweh Shai, fulfills all the prophecy, which means Yahweh Shai even coming back, all right, that they were going under the European Union laws, okay? America is the whore that rides the beast. The seven-head beast is that European Union, which they have a military might. The teeth of that beast is NATO. All right? So watch what they say about the laws that are going to be implemented under that European Union Commission in America.
if they want to stay in the good graces of the EU. So here is what they say in here. They say certain serious manifestations of racism and xenophobia must constitute an offense in all EU countries and be punishable by effective, proportionate, and dissuasive penalties.
Which is going to be death. And I'll show you this. She actually tells you the code number, and I will pull it up, and it's death. All right? They're going to actually put people to death for speaking out against their system, the beast system of the so-called white man, the red devil.
This framework decision applies to all offenses committed within the territory of the European Union or by a national of an EU country. So you've got to have, I believe it needs to be both. So you've got to be in the territory of the EU and you must be a national of the EU. Although that doesn't seem to be quite, I'm sure maybe each country made its own laws, but that seems like, you could commit a crime not as a national in that country, and if you commit the crime, then it's still a crime, right? I mean, just because you're not an EU citizen doesn't mean that you can go and rob people. So,
and this is why I don't like using women to edify, because they really don't understand. All right, but I'm gonna show you. Here it is. It's called the Colorado Privacy Act, signed into law, July 8th, 2021. All right, and it says that these are laws that actually go back to the European Union. Let me get right to where it says that. Here it is. It says the Colorado Privacy Act, CPA. It said it is similar to the EU's GDPR. All right. So they're coming together in their new world order. All right. And everybody is going to have to fall in line with their laws, which are draconian, which it tells you in the scriptures that they would do this. In Revelation 13 and verse 11, and I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, which is America, and he had two horns like a lamb, which those two horns is representing the Republican and the Democrat. And the reason it's like a lamb is because they act like they're like saviors to the world. And he spake as a dragon. So that dragon means draconian law, which this is draconian law because they're going to be able to put you to death if you speak out against the reincarnation of the Roman Empire. All right, which America is the reincarnation of the ancient pagan Roman Empire. All right. It says, and he exerciseth all the power of the first beast before him, and causeth the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed, which the deadly wound was upon that Roman head when it fell and the dark ages begin. All right, so this reincarnation of the Roman Empire is operating in the draconian law as the pagan Roman Empire in the past, which, if you understand that, you'd understand why they put Apostle Paul to death by beheading him. Why did they crucify Yahushua? Why did they kill all the apostles? Because it was seen as sedition, what they were doing, as treason. All right? It says, and he doth great wonders, so that he maketh fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men, which America is known for dropping missiles on nations like Japan, Syria. You know, they've even armed Ukraine with a bunch of missiles. All right? So that's the thing for America. America is known for dropping missiles. Before Biden was in office, they used to tell you how many missiles they dropped a day, and it was in the thousands. Now they don't even tell you no more. You can't even get that information because they don't want you speaking out about it. It says, and he deceiveth them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles, by their technology, which he had power to do in the sight of the beast, saying to them that dwell on the earth that they should make an image to the beast, which had the wound by a sword and did live. So they're reincarnating the Roman Empire on a greater level, on a worldwide level, all right, with America, the whore, and the beast, EU, which has 7 heads and 10 horns. The 10 horns represent the 10 kings of the European Union. The 7 heads is Greece, Rome, France, Britain, Spain. Let me think who I forgot. Greece, Rome, France, Britain, Spain, Germania Major, Germania Minor. All right. So with this beast system, which they have the military of NATO, right? All their military forces together, all right? They're bringing forth their new world order. It says, and he had power to give life unto the image of the beast. And that's what's happening right now. They're bringing this beast system alive. They're saying everybody needs to act according to this system. Excuse me. It says that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. Which I'm going to show you this, all right? She actually tells you the laws, and I'm going to pull them up, and I'll show you that there's a death sentence attached to these laws that they're pushing. And it's all fulfillment of prophecy that Yahweh Shai will return and deliver his elect. It says, and he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, which is that device the size of a grain of rice that they're going to make mandatory, that they want to implement and implant in your body for buying and selling. And that no man might buy or sell save he that had the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. Here is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666, which you get the 666 from, okay?
It's still a crime, right? I mean, just because you're not an EU citizen doesn't mean that you can go and like rob people. So, but that is what the...
Once again, it's not about being a European Union citizen. This is a worldwide scale event, all right? It's going to be a new world order. And the order is that you have to get that device implanted in your body the size of a grain of rice, the MOTB, the implantable microchip, which they're going to make mandatory for buying and selling. And when you see this guy that's on her screen, Santa Claus Schwab, all right, he actually openly speaks about everybody having a chip in their foreheads. All right, this is their plan.
Language says, I'm just reading from the language that they adopted here. Hate speech. What do they define as hate speech? Well, they say certain forms of conduct as outlined below are punishable as criminal offenses. Public incitement to violence or hatred directed against a group of persons or a member of such a group defined on the basis of race, color, descent, religion, or belief, or national or ethnic origin. Okay, so public incitement.
So they're talking about us, the biblical Hebrew Israelites that go out and teach the truth. All right, and the truth is the so-called white man is the red devil that the Lord hates. Malachi chapter 1, verse 1. It says, we'll just start at 1. It says, the burden of the word of Yahweh to Israel by Malachi. I have loved you, saith Yahweh, yet ye say, wherein hast thou loved us? Was not Esau Jacob's brother? Saith Yahweh, yet I loved Jacob, and I hated Esau, and laid his mountains and his heritage waste for the dragons of the wilderness. Whereas Edom saith, we are impoverished, but we will return and build the desolate places. Thus saith Yahweh of hosts, they shall build, but I will throw down, and they shall call them the border of wickedness, and the people against whom Yahweh hath indignation forever. And your eyes shall see, and ye shall say, Yahweh will be magnified from the border of Israel. So that right there is a crime under these laws that they're pushing forth in 2023, the year that we hope that Yahweh Bahasham Yahushai fulfills all these prophecies. Which there is a prophecy that these devils are going to make war with the saints. Revelation 13, verse 7. And it was given unto him to make war with the saints and to overcome them. And power was given him over all kindreds and tongues and nations. So they're going to persecute the saints, the Israelites that believe and speak of this faith. All right? The prophets. And then they're going to come down with great wrath, knowing that they have but a short time. It says in 2 Ezra 16, verse 70, For there shall be in every place and in the next cities a great insurrection, and that means a great violent act, upon those that fear the Lord. They shall be like madmen, sparing none, but still spoiling and destroying those that fear the Lord. For they shall waste and take away their goods and cast them out of their houses. Why? Because of what we say and what we do. Because we're going to reject that device that is the size of a grain of rice that they're going to make mandatory for buying and selling. It says, Then shall they be known who are my chosen, and they shall be tried as the gold in the fire. Right? Because they're going to try to go up against us in battle. And the Lord is actually going to fight them for us. Let's get Zechariah 13. It says in verse 8, And it shall come to pass that in all the land, saith Yahweh, 2 parts therein shall be cut off and die. So 2/3 of the nation of Israel that is in America, whether they know they're Israelites or don't, they're cut off and they're going to die here because they're agreeing to the so-called white man. But the third shall be left therein, and I will bring the third part through the fire and will refine them as silver is refined, and will try them as gold is tried. They shall call on my name, and I will hear them. I will say, It is my people, and they shall say, Yahweh is my power. It says, Behold, Zechariah 14, verse 1, Behold, the day of Yahweh cometh, and thy spoils shall be divided in the midst of thee. For I will gather all nations against Jerusalem to battle, and the city shall be taken, and the houses rifled, meaning destroyed. They're going to destroy the homes. And the women ravished. So these Jake women, so-called Negro, Latino, and Native American Indian women, and Israelites look like all nations, all right? They speak all these different languages, but they even look like all these other nations. So you got Israelites that look like so-called white people, that look like so-called Chinese people, that look like Africans, look like East Indians, all right? But the Lord is going to punish them with severe violence using that so-called white man, the sword, all right? And he's going to bring the sword upon them because of their rebellion and disobedience, all right? And after he punishes those 2/3 using that so-called white man, he's going to punish the so-called white men and the other nations. It says, And half of the city shall go forth into captivity, and the residue, the remnant of the people of the Israelites, shall not be cut off from the city. Then shall Yahweh go forth and fight against those nations as when he fought in the day of battle. So when they come up against us, he's going to allow them to touch a certain number of us, and then he's going to make a move on Esau and fucking destroy him and his kingdom. It says in Zechariah 14:12, And this shall be the plague wherewith Yahweh will smite all the people that have fought against Jerusalem. Their flesh shall consume away while they stand upon their feet, and their eyes shall consume away in their holes, and their tongue shall consume away in their mouth. And that's that nuclear destruction that comes after they make that device that's the size of a grain of rice, which they're going to make it mandatory worldwide that you have to have this thing implanted in your body or die. All right, if you want to buy or sell in their beast system, the Lord's going to put the fire to their ass, man. And Jake is going to take that shit. All right, a lot of Jake is going to go down to Egypt for help. All right, and he's going to perish with the heathen, them that take that device.
Okay, so public incitement of violence. So I can understand the violence aspect. If you say everybody should go and shoot, XYZ people, that is an absolute
Which we don't say that. We just say what the Bible says. And the Bible says that the so-called white man is going to be destroyed by violence, all right? Obadiah, and it's only one chapter, verse 1, the vision of Obadiah. Thus saith the supreme power Yahweh concerning Edom. Edom is the so-called white race. We have heard a rumor from Yahweh, which means a report, and an ambassador is sent among the heathen. Arise ye, and let us rise up against her in battle. I'm going to just jump to the scriptures that we need. Verse 3, the pride of thine heart have deceived thee. The so-called white man is very proud. That's why they got this WEF, where they think they could push certain laws on anybody and have no payback for it. Thou that dwelleth in the cliffs of the rock, which they're cavemen, whose habitation is high, which they're living very rich because they're in their heaven, which is America. They're ruling right now. They're the wicked that rule the world, and America is their heaven. That saith in his heart, who shall bring me down to the ground? Which that's what they're literally saying. Who could stop us? Who could stop us from passing these kind of laws? Who's going to stop us from killing you fucking niggers, you spicks, and you Uncle Tomahawks? See, who's going to stop me? And who's going to stop him? Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai. It says, though thou exalt thyself as the eagle, which literally the United States seal is an eagle that represents their government system. But even Rome used the eagle to represent those Edomites back then. Though thou exalt thyself as the eagle, and though thou set thy nest among the stars, thence will I bring thee down, saith Yahweh. So who's going to bring these devils down? Yahweh, and he's going to send his son, Yahushai, which is coming with angels on the so-called UFOs. Now let me get where it says that they're going to die by slaughter. Verse 8, shall I not in that day, saith Yahweh, even destroy the wise men out of Edom, and understanding out of the mount of Esau, and thy mighty men, O Teman, shall be dismayed, which is their Germans, all right? The Germans are their scientists. It says, to the end that every one of the mount of Esau may be cut off by slaughter. You hear that? That's what the Bible says. This is not what we're saying, our own words, all right? This is what the Bible says. That the Edomites, the entire race of the so-called white men, is going to be cut off by slaughter. For thy violence against thy brother Jacob, because they have what done to the Israelite? What have they done to the so-called Negro, Latino, and Native American Indian? And when you look into the history of what they done to us, this is why they're going to be slaughtered. It says, shame shall cover thee, and thou shalt be cut off forever. So they don't have no repentance. The Edomite, the so-called white race, is the only nation that will not continue. After 1,000 years of slavery under the Israelites, brutal slavery, they're going to be made extinct. It says, verse 15, for the day of Yahweh is near upon all the heathen. As thou hast done, it shall be done unto thee. Thy reward shall return upon thine own head. And what is that reward? You're going to go into slavery and then be slaughtered. It says in Revelation 13:10, he that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. Here is the patience and the faith of the saints. Now going back to Obadiah and verse 18, it says, and the house of Jacob shall be a fire, and the house of Joseph a flame. And that word fire and flame meaning we're pretty much stirring them up, all right? It says, and the house of Esau for stubble, which they're going to be burnt up. And they shall kindle in them, which we're kindling by gathering together and speaking this truth, and devour them, which we're literally going to get an increase of power. We're going to become gods, all right before their eyes. And there shall not be any remaining of the house of Esau, for Yahweh has spoken it. So that shows you the pride of this so-called white man, the red devil, when he thinks he can make laws against Yahweh, Ba'asham, Yahushai, Ba'asham, Rakah, Kodash, including his elect. All right, no man could put charges against the Most High's elect. All right, Yahweh, Ba'asham, Yahushai justifieth his elect, and they're going to fight for him. It says in Revelation 17, and this is the chapter that speaks of the judgment of the whore, America. It says in verse 12, and the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings, those European Union kings, which have received no kingdom as yet, but received power as kings 1 hour with the beast. Meaning when they make that MOTB mandatory, that's when this is taking effect. These have one mind and shall give their power and strength unto the beast. And we're witnessing that because this beast is coming alive. These shall make war with the Lamb, which they're getting ready to fight Yahushai and his elect, and the Lamb shall overcome them. For he is Lord of lords and King of kings, and they that are with him are called and chosen and faithful. All right? It says in verse 16, and the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore. So the European Union kings are going to hate America, the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. They're going to shoot with Russia ICBM hypersonic nuclear missiles upon America, that great whore. For Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahushai, have put in their hearts to fulfill his will and to agree and give their kingdom unto the beast, until the words of Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahushai shall be fulfilled. And they're fulfilling his word right now. That's why it's fulfilling the prophecies exactly as it's written, because he gave them that device, he gave them the nuclear missile, and they're going to do exactly as he commands them. They think they're doing it out of their own free will, but really they're operating exactly as the prophecies are written. All right?
Is an absolute incitement to violence, right? That's direct, but hatred directed at a group. If you say, for example, because they're saying hatred directed against a group of persons or member by the basis of race, color, descent, religion, or belief, or national or ethnic origin. So if you said something,
so they're literally persecuting the Israelite because we're bringing out the truth on the Edomite, which they're going to have to own that title. They're going to have to own that name, all right, as being the red devil, Esau, Edom. Their actual biblical name is Esau, all right. Edom is the nation, all right, but their father was Esau, whose name was changed to Edom, and he is the father of Edomites. The Edomites pertains to the entire white race, which you even got some Edomites that look like so-called black men, all right, like Herod. Herod was a Greek, but he looked like a so-called black man because his mother was a Jew of Israel, and his father was an Edomite. All right. So let me get, was it Ezekiel? I believe it's 38. Maybe 35. Let me see. Yep. Ezekiel 35. Moreover, the word of Yahweh came unto me, saying, Son of man, set thy face against Mount Seir, and prophesy against it. So we're commanded to speak against the so-called white race. All right? It says in verse 5, because thou hast had a perpetual hatred, and hast shed the blood of the sons of Israel by the force of the sword, in the time of their calamity, in the time that their iniquity had an end, which they were supposed to let us go out of slavery. But who's in our land? Who's occupying and defiling our land? The so-called white race. So the Lord is going to destroy this so-called white man, his entire race. It says, therefore, as I live, saith the supreme power Yahweh, I will prepare thee unto blood, and blood shall pursue thee. And this is why his name was changed to Edom. They love eating blood. They love their steaks rare, all right, which they sold their birthright. Their forefather Esau sold their birthright for a bloody soup. He couldn't even wait for the soup to cook, all right? And then he pursues blood. He's a murderer. He's a killer. It says, and not even a killer, because a killer, you could be a righteous, there's a righteous killing, but he's a murderer, all right? It says the devil comes to murder, steal, all right? The devil is pertaining to that so-called white man. It says, saith, thou hast not hated blood, even blood shall pursue thee. Thus I will make Mount Seir most desolate, talking about America, and cut off from it him that passeth out and him that returneth. So America will be a desert which no man will inhabit. It says in verse 9, I will make thee perpetual desolations, and thy cities shall not return, and ye shall know that I am Yahweh, because thou hast said, these two nations and these two countries shall be mine, and we will possess it, whereas Yahweh was there. Therefore, as I live, saith the supreme power Yahweh, I will even do according to thine anger, which the so-called white man has committed genocide against the Israelites. What have they done to the so-called black man, to the so-called Hispanic man, to the so-called Native American Indian man? Genocide. It says, and according to thine envy, all right, which envy came into the world through the devil, which it was the serpent, which was that so-called white man, Esau, Edom, but back then he was the serpent. He even was Cain that killed his brother Abel, all right, because the Bible tells you of reincarnation. So when Esau was born, he lacked melanin in his skin, because that's the mark of Cain. Cain was Esau, and Cain was a dark-skinned man, all right, but he lost his melanin when he killed his brother Abel. That was the mark of Cain. And when Cain died, he returned. He was reincarnated as Esau, all right, and he was also the serpent in the Garden of Eden that deceived Eve. He was a dark-skinned man back then. It says, and according to thine envy, which he envies the Israelite, which thou hast used out of thy hatred against them, and I will make myself known among them when I have judged thee. And he's going to do that through his elect men. Isaiah 59:19. It says, verse 18, according to their deeds, accordingly he will repay. Fury to his adversaries, which is that so-called white man and the other nations, but the so-called white man, Esau, Edom, they're going to get it the worst. Recompense to his enemies, to the islands he will repay recompense. So shall they fear the name of Yahweh from the west, and his glory from the rising of the sun, when the enemy shall come in like a flood, which they're going to come in our homes and to put us to death or arrest us, the Spirit of Yahweh shall lift up a standard against him. So the Lord is going to give us spiritual power, literally, where fire comes out of our mouths, out of our eyes, out of our bodies. It says, and the Redeemer shall come to Zion, which is dealing with Israel, the ones that are prophesying and sighing and crying, and unto them that turn from transgression in Jacob, saith Yahweh, which we're repenting, we're humbling ourselves and returning to Yahweh Ba'asham Yahushai. That's why we're gathering ourselves together. It says, as for me, this is my covenant with them, saith Yahweh, my spirit that is upon thee, and my words which I have put in thy mouth shall not depart out of thy mouth. Which they're trying to tell us to shut the fuck up. But you just heard, they will not depart out of our mouths. They're going to cut our heads off. Some of us are going to be beheaded for this testimony. And it ain't going to do nothing but increase the prophecy. It says, nor out of the mouth of thy seed, nor out of the mouth of thy seed, saith Yahweh, from thenceforth and forevermore. All right, so the Lord is going to increase us. All right, when they persecute us for Yahweh Ba'asham Yahushai, he's going to increase us.
Or ethnic origin. So if you said something like, I don't like Christians, I don't like any Christians are crazy, and their Bible has led to all these wars, and I don't like Christians, I hate them, that would be possibly considered hate speech in the EU, and that would be a criminal offense to say you don't like a certain group of people based on. Now I can understand. I can't understand. I don't agree with hate speech laws at all. In fact, I don't. I just, you can hate whoever you want, and you should be free to express that completely. But it's one thing to say, okay, you can't say you hate a group of people based on their race or color of their skin or ethnic origin or national origin. I understand that. People can't really help that. But your beliefs or your religions, those are actually choice, right? So it's interesting that they clump that in there, because those are actually a choice. You don't have to be your religion. You can convert.
What they're talking about are the small hat, big nosed bastards that are in our land, that claim that they were persecuted under Hitler, which was just a illegitimate son of the Rothschilds. All right, because they say if you deny the genocide, which they're not talking about the Native American Indians or the so-called Negroes or the Latinos. They're talking about those big-nosed bastards, the counterfeits that are in our land, all right? They're talking about them. If you don't believe that those are the real Jews, that's a hate speech. So they're talking about us, the true Israelites, that are revealing the son of perdition. All right, 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, it says in verse 3, let no man deceive you by the means, for that day shall not come except there come a falling away first, and that man of sin, which is the so-called white man, be revealed, the son of perdition, who opposeth and exalteth himself above all that is called God, or that is worshipped, so that he as God sitteth in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God. Which this is an example of that. They have set themselves up and told the world that they are the image of God. Which the image of God is really a so-called black man. And his son Yahushai is also the image of a so-called black man. Which really they're just dark brown. Esau Edom is a red man. He's not white. Alright? And he's going to be punished for this blasphemy. Which even in the land of Israel, you got those bastards, those counterfeits. Alright? And they claim that there's a Messiah there. Which they're doing the same thing that these Christians did. Alright? Which they're all the same race. Esau Edom, the devil the Bible speaks of.
you can convert in or out of religions typically, right? Goes on to say the above mentioned offense, when carried out by the public dissemination or distribution of tracts, pictures, or other material. So it's when you put that out there publicly. So publicly condoning, and here's another one. This is part of hate speech. Now, this one is really alarming. Publicly condoning, denying, or grossly trivializing crimes of genocide, crimes against humanity, and war crimes as defined in the statute of the International Criminal Court and crimes defined in Article 6 of the Charter of the International Military Tribunal, when the conduct is carried out in a manner likely to incite violence or hatred against such a group or a member of such group. So you're not allowed to deny genocide, which, they call a lot of things genocide. They label a lot of things that are not genocide.
Which, once again, they're talking about those big-nosed bastards, the counterfeits that were established in the land of Israel, all right, under the, all right, you can see that, 2 Rothschilds in the land of Israel, all right, which they were set up. Who was behind the Balfour Declaration? All right, that's what I was talking about, the Balfour Declaration, which set up the counterfeits that are in our land today.
Which, they call a lot of things genocide. They label a lot of things that are not genocide as genocides, and you're not allowed to be a genocide denier.
Like what they say that happened to those counterfeits. They said that was a genocide, but the one that was doing it, the illegitimate son of the Rothschilds, Hitler, with his little mustache, he was only doing that in an act of trying to save his people because they were being plagued with typhus, all right, because they were getting lice because they're counterfeits. They're not the real Jews.
According to this, you're also not allowed to trivialize or deny crimes against humanity and war crimes. So if you are under the belief,
which I did a sit down on this, and many brothers did, in Ukraine, the big-nosed bastard over there, he goes back to the same people. All right? He is a small hat or a big hat, big-nosed bastard.
For example, that you don't think Russia is committing genocide in Ukraine, or if you don't think the Uyghurs are under...
But you got to remember, the Russians are Edomites. So how are they committing genocide against other Edomites, just like Hitler? How did he, with his little ugly mustache, commit genocide against his own people? All right? Once again, those gas chambers, you can look it up. They used to gas the Mexicans when they would come over from Mexico across the border. They would push them in gas chambers and hit them with it as to get rid of pesticides. It was a pesticide to get rid of bugs or any kind of like worms or lice that would be upon them. All right, because the small hats that are in the land of Israel, the counterfeits that rule the world, they are actually, plagued because they're in our land and they're acting like they're us. And they're ruling the world because every president of the United States, you can look it up, goes back to those small hat bastards.
Genocide in China, and you express that, then that or ethnic origin or national origin, I understand that people can't really help that, but your beliefs or your religions, those are actually choice, right? So it's interesting that they clump that in there because those are actually a choice. You don't have to be your religion. You can convert in or out of religions typically, right? Goes on to say the above mentioned offense, when carried out by the public dissemination or distribution of tracts, pictures, or other material. So it's when you put that out there publicly. So publicly condoning, and here's another one. This is part of hate speech. Now, this one is really alarming. Publicly condoning, denying, or grossly trivializing crimes of genocide, crimes against humanity and war crimes as defined in the statute of the International Criminal Court, and crimes defined in Article 6 of the Charter of the International Military Tribunal, when the conduct is carried out in a manner likely to incite violence or hatred against such a group or a member of such group. So you're not allowed to deny genocide, which, they call.
See right here? I'm not even going to say it, but you can see who I was talking about. Hitler. See? Pretty much they had lice and they had typhus because they're counterfeits. It says the epidemic typhus, also called louse-borne typhus, is an uncommon disease caused by a bacteria called Rickettsia prowazekii. Epidemic typhus is spread to people through contact by infected body lice. And as you can see, that's red skin that lice is attached to. All right, and that's what was on those Edomites in our land, claiming that the small mustache Edomite was causing genocide. All right, so they're lying to the world, but they're bringing forth these blasphemous laws to try to condemn the true Israelites. All right, so she said in that video that it will be punishable under the Article 6 of the Charter of International Military Law, which I pulled it up, and what it is, this is why she said it's alarming, because it's a death sentence. It says Article 6, trial and punishment of the major war criminals of the European Axis countries, America, shall have the power to try and punish persons who, acting in the interests of the European Axis countries, whether as individuals or as members of organizations, committing any of the following crimes, which it is dealing with speaking and putting out this information publicly. Let me see if I pull it up. All right, right here. It says Charter of the International Military Tribunal. So you got it. And number 6 here where it explains what I just read. All right. Crimes against peace, war crimes, namely violations of the laws or customs of war. All right. Crimes against humanity, namely murder, extermination, enslavement, deportation, and inhumane acts committed against any civilian population before or during the war, which they're talking about the Israelites speaking out against the Edomites.
The statute of the International Criminal Court, and crimes defined in Article 6 of the Charter of the International Military Tribunal, when the conduct is carried out in a manner likely to incite violence or hatred against such a group or a member of such group. So you're not allowed to deny genocide, which, they call a lot of things genocide, or crimes as defined in the statute, that people can't really help that. But your beliefs or your religions, those are actually choice, right? So it's interesting that they clump that in there, because those are actually a choice. You don't have to be your religion. You can convert in or out of religions typically, right? Goes on to say, the above mentioned offense, when carried out by the public dissemination or distribution of tracts, pictures, or other material. So it's when you put that out there publicly. So publicly condoning, and here's another one. This is part of hate speech. Now this one is really alarming. Publicly condoning, denying, or grossly trivializing crimes of genocide, crimes against humanity, and war crimes as defined in the statute of the International Criminal Court, and crimes defined in Article 6 of the Charter of the International Military Tribunal, when the conduct is carried out in a manner likely to incite violence or hatred against such a group or a member of such group. So,
which I just showed you, all right? What she's talking about, I just pulled up, all right? Here it is, Charter of the International Military Tribunal. Article 6, pretty much speaking out publicly. All right, let me get down to Article 27, I believe it is, which is the judgment, because it explains how they have the right to try you according to their laws. It says right here, judgment and sentence, Article 26. All right, now Article 27 is the point. It says, the tribunal shall have the right to impose upon a defendant on conviction death. Do you see that? Death. On conviction, death, or such other punishment as shall be determined by it to be just. All right? So they're pretty much putting it out there. They're going to put the prophets to death, which is prophesied in Revelation 6. All right? The red horse, which is here in verse 4. And there went out another horse that was red. So horse represents power. Was red, Edom. And power was given to him, to the Edomite, the so-called white race, that sat thereon to take peace from the earth, and that they should kill one another. And there was given unto him a great sword, which is that nuclear weapon. Now I'm going to jump down. It says in verse 9, and when he, Yahushua, had opened the fifth seal, I saw under the altar the souls of them that were slain for the word of Yahweh Ba'asham Yahushua, and for the testimony which they held. So they're going to put some of us to death because of this truth being public. And they cried with a loud voice, saying, how long, O Lord, holy and true, dost thou not judge and avenge our blood on them that dwell on the earth? And white robes were given unto every one of them, and it was said unto them that they should rest yet for a little season, until their fellow servants also and their brethren should be killed as they were, should be fulfilled. So once they do a certain number that the Lord will allow, it says, and I beheld, and when he had opened the sixth seal, and lo, there was a great earthquake, nuclear destruction of America. And the sun became black as sackcloth of hair, and the moon became as blood, and the stars, which are those nuclear missiles of heaven, fell unto the earth, even as a fig tree casteth her untimely figs, and she was shaking when she is shaken of a mighty wind. So it's talking about nuclear destruction. When they come upon us, the Lord is going to cause that Zechariah 14:12 to happen. It says, and this shall be the plague wherewith Yahweh will smite all the people that have fought against Jerusalem. Their flesh shall consume away while they stand upon their feet, and their eyes shall consume away in their holes, and their tongue shall consume away in their mouth. All right? It says in Revelation 12, verse 12, therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil, the so-called white man, is that red devil, is come down unto you having great wrath, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time. Verse 11, and they overcame him, talking about the elect, by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony. And they loved not their lives unto the death. Why? Because they're going to put some of us to death. It says, let me get that in the NIV. All right. It says, or I'll get the NLT. Actually, it says, which one was it? Yeah, NLT. Yeah, NLT is fine. It says, and they have defeated him, talking about the hopeful elect. They defeat the so-called white man and his mark and his system by the blood of the Lamb, which Yahushua bought us, and by their testimony, which were speaking of Yahweh Ba'asham Yahushua. and they did not love their lives so much that they were afraid to die. See? And I hope to be in that number. If I got to die for this truth, I hope to not be afraid. I hope the Lord give me that spirit to be courageous. And my name is Kayal, and that means courageous, a courageous soldier. And I want to endure as a good soldier in this faith for Yahweh Ba'asham Yahushai. And it tells you that he's going to deliver us. All right? It says in Matthew 24, verse 29, it says, immediately after the tribulation of those days shall the sun be darkened and the moon shall not give her light. Nuclear destruction after they make that device mandatory for buying and selling. And the stars shall fall from heaven, nuclear missiles, and the powers of the heavens shall be shaken. Talking about the so-called Illuminati. And then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven on top of a so-called UFO. And then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn. And they shall see the Son of Man, which he's going to be a so-called black man. He's not going to look like this. He's going to look like this. It says, and then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven, and then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn. And they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. And he shall send his angels with a great sound of a trumpet, and they shall gather together his elect from the four winds, from one end of heaven to the other. And that's how we're going to be delivered. All right? But the Lord's even going to give us power as we stand here and prophesy. It says right here, it says, verse 3 of Revelation 11, and I will give power unto my 2 witnesses, and they shall prophesy 1,260 days clothed in sackcloth. So every time we was in slavery, he always had a remnant of the elect prophesying. This is our final time, our go around. And so these 2 witnesses are representing now the southern kingdom and the northern kingdom being gathered together of Israel. These are the 2 olive trees and the 2 candlesticks standing before Yahweh Ba'asham Yahushai, the power of the earth. It says, and if any man will hurt them, fire proceedeth out of their mouth and devoureth their enemies. And if any man will hurt them, he must in this manner be killed. And that's why even the ones that go to war against us, the Lord is going to have their eyes consume away in their holes and their tongue melt in their mouth. Nuclear destruction. All right. It tells you even when he comes on the chariot in 2 Ezra 13. They're going to have their armies gathered in the valley of Jehoshaphat, and he's going to carry out Yahweh's Mashaphat. It's going to be judgment time soon. It says, verse 3, and I beheld, and lo, the man waxed strong with the thousands of heaven. Let me pull that up. See? It's already happening. UFO reports by U.S. troops skyrocket to over 500. And that's just a small number. And look at that. The number of encounters has climbed from the 144, which is a spiritual number, all right, up to 500, because they're seeing the armies of the Lord coming together, which you got the Air Force being the chariots, the so-called UFOs, which are the vehicles of the angels. It says, and I beheld, and lo, that man, being Yahushai, waxed strong with the thousands of heaven. There ain't 500, there's thousands and thousands and thousands of them. And when he turned his countenance to look, and it says, all the things trembled that were seen under him. And whensoever the voice went out of his mouth, all they burned that heard his voice, like as the earth faileth when it fleeth the fire. Excuse me. I'm going to jump down to the point. It says, verse 8, And after this I beheld, and lo, all they which were gathered together to subdue him, which are the armies of the world, they're going to be in that valley of Jehoshaphat, were sore afraid, because it's going to be terrifying to see Yahushua on this great chariot. And yet there's fight. So he's going to put it in them to still want to fight. And lo, as he saw the violence of the multitude that came, he neither lifted up his hand, nor held sword, nor any instrument of war. But only I saw that he sent out of his mouth as it had been a blast of fire. You want to get an example? Independence Day, when the fire comes down out of the so-called UFO and burns everybody up. Or the war of the worlds. It says, and out of his lips a flaming breath, and out of his tongue he casteth sparks and tempests. And they were all mixed together, because you're going to have America be destroyed by nuclear fire, chariot fire, and also the armies of the world. It says, the blast of fire, the flaming breath, and the great tempest, and fell with violence upon the multitude which were prepared to fight, and burned them up every one, so that upon a sudden of an innumerable multitude nothing was to be perceived, but only dust and smell of smoke. When I saw this, I was afraid. All right, and that's what's about to happen. A great judgment. The Lord is coming to judge the world. Revelation 19. And they can make any laws they want. In fact, let me get that real quick. Isaiah 10, it don't mean shit. They're supposed to be doing this. They're fulfilling prophecy. Isaiah 10 verse 1. Woe unto them that decree unrighteous decrees, and write grievousness which they have prescribed. There you go. It says to turn aside the needy from judgment, and to take away the right from the poor of my people, that widows may be their prey, and that they may rob the fatherless. Which that's what they're doing with these laws. It says, Isaiah 54, it says in verse 17, no weapon that is formed against thee shall prosper, and every tongue that shall rise against thee in judgment thou shalt condemn. This is the heritage this is the heritage of the servants of Yahweh, and their righteousness is of me, saith Yahweh. All right, so the Lord God gave us the God-given right to curse these Edomites and tell them about their judgment. It says in Revelation 19, verse 11, and I saw heaven open, and behold, a white horse, the so-called UFO, and he that sat upon him, which is Yahushai, which once again, that's Yahushai as it is written. And he that sat upon him was called faithful and true, and in righteousness he does judge and make war. It says in verse 13, and he was clothed with a vesture dipped in blood, because he's going to kill a lot of people. And his name is called the Word of Yahweh. And the armies which were in heaven, remember, there's armies in heaven, angels that ride the chariots, followed him upon white horses, clothed in fine linen, white and clean. And out of his mouth goeth a sharp sword. Which is example is right there. See the so-called UFOs burning the cities, killing the men? See, that's what you're about to witness. And out of his mouth goeth a sharp sword, that with it he should smite the nations. And he shall rule them with a rod of iron, and he treadeth the winepress of the fierceness and wrath of Almighty Yahweh. And he hath on his vesture and on his thigh a name written, King of Kings and Lord of Lords, which is Yahushua. He's going to come and put many people to death. So many, even 2/3 of his own in Babylon. In America, the rebellious of Israel are going to die right along with the heathen. All right? This is that judgment that's been prophesied, that all the prophets witnessed and testified of. In Revelation 18, it says, Verse 8, therefore shall her plagues, talking about America, her being the whore, America, therefore shall her plagues come in one day, death and mourning and famine, and she shall be utterly burned with fire, for strong is the supreme power Yahweh, Ba'asham Yahushai, who judgeth her. It says in verse 17, for in 1 hour, so in one day, in 1 hour after they make that device, the size of a grain of rice, the MOTB, the implantable micro CHIP, mandatory for buying and selling, the Lord is going to destroy America and all the armies of the world. It says, for in 1 hour, so great riches is come to naught, because nothing will remain. After 200 million nuclear missiles devour America and chariot fire devour the armies in the land of Israel, you're going to just see dust and smoke. It says, and every shipmaster and all the company in ships and sailors and as many as trade by sea stood afar off and cried when they saw the smoke of her burning, saying, what city is like unto this great city? Talking about America. 20. Rejoice over her, thou heaven, and ye holy apostles and prophets, for Yahweh Bahasham Yahushai hath avenged you on her. So we're going to be praising Yahweh Bahasham Yahushai. It says, and a mighty angel took up a stone like a great millstone and cast it into the sea, saying, thus with violence shall that great city Babylon, which is America, be thrown down and shall be found no more at all. And this ain't talking about ancient Babylon. Ancient Babylon still exists. That's why ISIS was there trying to destroy the artifacts, because the Edomites, the so-called white man, is trying to change the future, but they can't. They can't change the prophecies. They're operating according to the will of Yahweh Ba'asham Yahushai, and it's all going to come to the destruction of Babylon the Great, which is America, and it's going to be destroyed such a way that nothing will remain. Everyone in America will die, and that's why the Lord is going to take us out of here via chariot, so-called UFO. All praises and glory to Yahweh Ba'asham Yahushai Ba'asham Ha Rakak Kodash. Double honors to our apostles and elders which rule great millstone well, and shalom to the hopeful elect of the nation of Israel. May you endure unto the end. Shalom wa abba babal.